I wonder how many secrets a house can hold. Not just inside its walls, but right there on the front porch. Not just inside its walls, but right there on the front porch. For over a century, the grand old McGregor house stood at the end of Oak Street, its wide porch a testament to a bygone era. It was the kind of porch where generations had gathered, where stories were told, and where life had unfolded in the slow, sweet rhythm of small-town America. But as the years passed, the house fell silent. The McGregor line ended, the paint peeled, and the porch, once a stage for life, became a forgotten space, shrouded in ivy and dust. Kids in the neighborhood, myself included, used to tell ghost stories about it. We'd dare each other to run up the creaking steps, touch the heavy oak door, and sprint back before the McGregor ghost could get us. It was all just childish fun, of course. The house was empty, or so we thought. The house was empty, or so we thought. One summer, a historical society finally got permission to restore the McGregor house. They planned to turn it into a museum, a preserved slice of our town's history. The whole town was buzzing with excitement, and I, now a budding local journalist, was assigned to cover the story. The restoration began with the exterior. Workers cleared away the overgrown ivy and decades of neglect from the front porch. Workers cleared away the overgrown ivy and decades of neglect from the front porch. That's when they found it, tucked away in a small, concealed compartment under a loose floorboard was a small, leather-bound diary. It wasn't dusty or rotted. It had been carefully wrapped in oilcloth, preserved against the damp. The diary belonged to a woman named Elara McGregor, the last McGregor to live in the house, who had supposedly moved away and died in a distant city in the 1940s. That was the official story, anyway, as I was given exclusive access to document the contents of the diary for my article. A different story began to emerge. Elara wasn't just some forgotten spinster. She was a vibrant, intelligent woman, an amateur astronomer who spent her nights on that very porch, charting the stars with a small brass telescope. Her diary entries were filled with wonder and beautiful descriptions of the cosmos. She wrote about constellations as if they were old friends, and she detailed her dream of one day working at a real observatory. But her entries also held a deep sadness. Her family disapproved of her unladylike hobby. Her father, a stern and traditional man, wanted her to marry and settle down. Her diary spoke of arguments, of feeling trapped, of her dreams being dismissed as foolish fantasies. She wrote, "This porch is my only observatory. The floorboards are my ground, and the railings are the walls of my world. Beyond this, I am not allowed to dream. Beyond this, I am not allowed to dream." It was heartbreaking to read. Her world had been reduced to the confines of her front porch. The later entries became more frantic. She mentioned a man named Julian, a traveling academic who shared her passion for the stars. He encouraged her, brought her books, and promised to help her find a position at a university out west. They planned to leave together. Her last few entries were filled with a nervous excitement, a desperate hope for a new life. The final entry was dated October 12, 1941. It simply said, "Tonight, the stars will guide me home. Julian is waiting. We leave at midnight. We leave at midnight." And then nothing. The rest of the diary was blank. According to town records, a week after that final entry, Elara's family reported her missing. They told everyone she'd run off, bringing shame to the family name. Eventually, they created the story that she had moved to a city and passed away, a lie to cover the embarrassment. The town forgot her. Her story was buried, just like her diary. But what really happened to Elara McGregor? Did she escape with Julian and start a new life among the stars she so loved? Or did something more sinister happen that night? The diary offered no more clues. The discovery turned the museum project into a town-wide mystery. People started coming forward with fragmented memories and old family stories. An elderly woman remembered her grandmother talking about a scandal at the McGregor house, a hushed-up affair involving the youngest daughter. Another man, whose grandfather had been the town's mailman, recalled stories of letters arriving for Elara from universities, letters her father would angrily burn. The pieces were starting to form a picture of a young woman desperate to escape a gilded cage. Driven by the mystery, I started digging deeper. I spent weeks in the town archives, poring over old newspapers, property deeds, and census records. I looked for any mention of a Julian who might have been in the area around 1941. I found nothing. It was a dead end. The Historical Society continued their work on the house, and while the diary was a fascinating find, Elara's fate remained a mystery. It seemed her story would remain, as it had for decades, forgotten on the front porch. Then a breakthrough came from the most unexpected place. While restoring the old porch swing, a worker noticed some faint carvings on the underside of the seat. They weren't just random scratches. They were constellations, and beneath them a set of initials, EM and JRJR. Not J anything else. Julian R something. This was the proof that Julian was real, and Elara had carved their initials into the very fabric of her small world. With this new clue, I went back to the archives, this time searching for anyone with the initials JRI, cross-reference ship manifests, university enrollment lists, anything I could find from the early 1940s. And then I found him. Julian Reed, a visiting astronomy lecturer at a nearby state college in the fall of 1941. Records showed he abruptly resigned from his position in mid-October of that year, and a passenger list for a train heading to California, dated October 13, 1941, listed two passengers, Julian Reed and Elara Reed. She had used his last name. She did it. She actually did it. Elara McGregor didn't just disappear, she escaped. But she actually did it. Ilara McGregor didn't just disappear, she escaped. She broke free from her front porch prison and ran toward her dream. I felt an incredible wave of relief and joy for this woman I'd only ever known through her words. She hadn't been a victim. She had been a hero of her own story. She had taken control of her destiny. My final article wasn't just about a restored house. It was about the restoration of a forgotten life. When the McGregor House Museum finally opened, the centerpiece of the exhibit wasn't the antique furniture or the fine china. It was the small leather-bound diary opened to its final, hopeful entry. Next to it was a brass telescope, just like the one she described, pointed out from the porch towards the night sky. The porch is no longer a forgotten space. It's a symbol of hope. It reminds us that even when our worlds feel small, there's a whole universe waiting, and it stands as a tribute to Ilara McGregor, the girl who was once forgotten on the front porch, but is now remembered as the woman who reached for the stars and finally found her way home. Thanks for watching our story today. If you're moved by tales of history and uncovering the past, make sure to subscribe to our channel. If you're moved by tales of history and uncovering the past, make sure to subscribe to our channel. We have many more secrets to uncover together. See you next time.